I'm back. It's Henry Smith. So if you get a chance, check out this video. It's a really good video. Really, I can't. I mean, I have the utmost respect for it. This woman's interview. She did a really good job. Um, I just want to point out a few things because at one point in the video I had to stop and be like, I gotta just, you know, I gotta say something about it. Um, because they mentioned a city in Memphis that was found, an Egyptian city, I'm sorry, in Memphis that was found, and once again, they were talking about everything's being removed from it, and we're all, up in arms and worried about Donald Trump and all this stuff, forgetting about, the land, like, and this is the second time I've heard this where, stuff has been discovered and we're distracted. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not all of us, obviously, but it's like, this is huge. And by the time we finally find out about it, none of the stuff that was there that would prove that we were here is going to be there. And that's even if it, becomes mainstream, then it'll just become a tourist attraction, right? And then just become another, episode for these people to make, YouTube videos off of, oh, were the Egyptians the first to come here? And, I mean, how many times do they try to tell us to take the Old Testament literally? It's serious. Take the Apocryphas, the Awaspi. It happened here, but, people just, wants to hear it, And this is the second time because I tried to find it. I was listening to a video, and there was a Moorish brother that was explaining in Louisiana, in the swamps of Louisiana, last year, these cypress boxes were found, right, in the swamps, and because the cypress tree, it grows in the swamp, so these cypress boxes in the shape of a what they call the shape of a what's it called there, a casket they were found. They opened them up, and what they find? Native Americans, the Negro Indian was inside there, in all these boxes with his garments, with his tools, with his stuff for the afterlife. And this guy was talking about, this is going to be the end of it. They said with this coming out, with these articles will be published, they said they'll shut everything down. There won't be no more debate, oh, you're from Africa, They'll be like, no. With the garments and everything that they had, it was proved that the Negro was here. Long before the European ever came here and said, hey, I found Americas. And I was all excited, and I'm trying to find these articles on Google. So I hit up Arthur Scott, see if he's heard anything about it. Not this guy said, I think I might have heard about some swampland that the game wards or whatever they called, they reclaiming, and I'm trying to find the video so I can make sure I get the name of the land, because the man even said where the land was at, where they taking it. But it just breaks my heart to know, like until I can find it and confirm it, like what if that's the land that they taking, they shutting it down so nobody can go in there. They're going to clear everything out just like they did the Grand Canyon, and they'll open it back up when they feel secure that there's nothing there, no trace of us. Just like the city in St. Louis, Missouri, that they're going to clean out, make sure there's no more Egyptian garbs or anything like that. And it just gets on my nerves because, like, this is something that we should be protesting. This is something that we should be protecting. But I just really have a lot of respect for this video. She's so well done. I'm going to shut my mouth as much as possible. I won't play too much of it. Just check it out if you can, right?
Programming us just to remember things, but not really think for yourself. So now it's not always a great idea to waste $100,000 plus on being educated. That word you need that means to train, to nurture. It doesn't mean read a whole bunch of books and pay $100,000 and you're not guaranteed a job. To be a better slave. You hear me? A job, okay? Our people have made the mistake of forgetting about entrepreneurship, and we just think, oh, we have to go to school and get a good job. And that has to stop, okay? Now, here in Africa, the word Africa, Latin origin, terra, African land, Libya, the Carthaginian territory, the province of Africa. Africa is as a continent, feminine, of adjective Africus from affair, and African, a word of uncertain origin. The Latin word originally was used only in reference to the region around modern Tunisia. Now that would be the Carthaginian territory that is said prior to that. But if Africa was used only in reference to that specific region, why are we calling ourselves Africans? Africans don't call them kin. They have a nation. It's 55 different countries, and our people cannot get over everything that they were told, and they damn sure won't pick up a book and research. That's where the information is. It does require us to do some things a lot differently. Not all of us have the time, but we need to find the time. We do have the time. We just don't make the time. We like pleasures, and until we run into a brick wall and we think we deserve that, right? Like we just have the impression that pain is just embedded in us and this is just a struggle that we have to go through as a quote-unquote black person or whatever. And that's absolutely incorrect. So I'm going to read the second half of that, go back to the second half of that etymology for the word Africa, and it says it gradually was extended to the whole continent. Gradually. Okay? Does not mean that you, I, or anyone from the U.S. is from Africa. Okay? Doesn't mean that. They told us that, and we're still running with that. With all this information here, they told us that, and they're still running with it. Okay? Now, that's something that we have to dissect. Now, if you know that they lied, what didn't they lie about? Well, there's a whole lot that you've been told. Those are the things you need to backtrack on. You know, it is our responsibility to backtrack on these things and get a firm understanding, because these are the things that they know. This is what they teach in those boarding institutions and these private institutions abroad. All of the royal children know this. But this public school education, because of the lack of our taking control of our state, taking control of making sure our children are no longer wards of the state, so that they have the rights to become descendable, things that we're thinking about. You want to talk about racism? Well, get in the race. It's a competition. And there's words that we don't even listen to or pay attention to that we speak all the time out of our mouth. And we ignorantly attach ourselves to a planet, that a continent, half of us ain't never even visited there, don't plan on visiting there. Okay? And the most of us, when you get there, you know it may be beautiful, but you don't feel no connection. And if you do, why didn't they invite you back? Why do you have to worry about it if that...
That's always been one of the things I can never get over. You know, once I started learning about, you know, here versus there and stuff like that. If we're from Africa, right? How come, you know, none of the African nations, you know what I'm saying, demanded, you know, payback for taking their people? Now, I know there are African nations that have opened their borders and said, you know, African Americans, you know, or the, you know, you can come here now. I know that much. But like, why are they demanding, you know, paybacks for taking us in the first place? Because maybe the UN or the, you know, or whoever they have to go before would think it's a joke, you know. Yeah. I mean, because the UN's already said just the slavery alone, the United States owes the Negro and the black folks, but I just wonder why Africa never said, hey, you know, give us back our, you know, our people.
That's your home. Connect to a place. Don't just call it Africa. Connect to a nation, because everybody that's on that continent, they connect to a nation. They're African to us, but they're Nigerian or Kenyan or Ugandan or something like that when it counts, and they have to say who they are. They have borders with their parents, their fathers, forefathers' last names, their native tongue, and they have a territory, and they have a currency. So therefore, they are a nation. They're not the same 3/5 of a person where we lack nationality and the last names of our forefathers and our mother tongue. We're the only people on the planet that has been stripped of all of these things. Only us. No one finds that odd. Africans come over here and they end up very wealthy. They end up very wealthy. Don't you dare tell me they end up in a whole bunch of prisons. With the exception of Amadou Diallo, you don't see a whole bunch of Africans getting hurt and harmed. You know, now I'm going to go to the word pan, because that, you know, and we have the Pan-African movement.
Now check this out. When she goes to the word pan, because when I listen to this, light went off.
Pan-African movement that created this Kwanzaa thing. And I'm going to get to the principles also in a second, because there's nothing wrong with the principles. Now, the Edamal for African, a little more disturbing. An Old English, Africanus, plural, native or inhabitant of Africa. From Latin, Africanus. An adjective of Africa, African, from Africa. Then it says to see Africa. Used of white residents of Africa from 1815. Used of black residents from the U.S. from circa 1850s, when it especially meant one brought from Africa. And listen to how they sneak this in, and sometimes was contrasted to the native-born Negro. How would it sometimes be contrasted? Because the last I checked, once a Russian comes to the United States and they commit a crime, their ass is back to Russia. They get deported. If a Haitian comes here and he commits a crime, they send him back to Haiti. And he's indigenous to the Americas, but he still has a nation. And the people in the Caribbean and South and Central America have a little bit different than we do, only in the aspect that they have a land mass to call their own. Okay? But ours, we still think we're from somewhere else. And that's just insane. And sometimes was contrasted to the native-born Negro. Native-born to the United States? Does this say anything? It later on, after they've been calling white people all this time Africans, then they switched it and gave us that name. Now, how do we deal with that? Because some people got that spirit on their heart where they are just going to, no matter what, we from Africa, I took black studies, black, black, black. Keep saying that word black. Damn if that didn't put us in a black hole.
Yeah,
Too bad our money isn't in the black. Our money's in the red because they take it in blood.
She on fire.
Any way you put it, they take it in blood. Now, the word pan, our people swear they always trying to get fancy. We got to stop trying to get over. And that's just the bottom line of it. Just do the work. Just don't complain. Do the work and don't complain. Don't tell me about voting for these CEOs of the company that you call presidents. You can't pick the president at Target. We don't need to hear that no more. You see what the word citizen means? That doesn't include anybody black, and it doesn't include anybody of African descent. How do you wonder, suppose, how that happens when you see Barack Obama has a Kenyan father, okay? He has a Kenyan last name. Why does he get in there? Do you think he's a black man? Absolutely not. He may appear envisaged to be so, but that's absolutely not. And he doesn't appear.
That's right. And his bloodline from his mother takes you right to President Bush. His bloodline through his mother takes you right to Aleister Crowley. That's right.
Here envisaged to do that either, because if he has on an all-black suit and sitting on an all-black leather couch, and I can still see him, you are not black.
And let me just say, it's a continuation of the bloodline from the king that signed the Magna Carta. Every president except for one are all related to the king that signed the Magna Carta, a document that shouldn't even be recognized because it was signed at, you can't even say gunpoint, but at a sword put to the man's throat, and he signed it. No contract signed under duress is recognized. But this, for some reason, is because it benefits what? The Catholic Church. Makes them innocent, supposedly, of all things. It's their version of being the blameless Ethiop. The blameless Catholics. Check it out, though. Check it out. Even Mr. Donald J. Trump, or his last name was really Thump, but they got it changed because his father and grandfather didn't like being made fun of. Thump, so it's changed to Trump. But even with that man, his bloodline takes you right back to the king that signed the Magna Carta. Hillary Clinton and he are cousins, and Hillary Clinton, through the Lancaster bloodline, goes right back to the king of the Magna Carta. Get played out. I ain't got time for that.
Black is a legal status. It's the status of a people. It's not who the people are. We got comfortable saying that word because it did make us beam with pride. Did I feel good when I used to refer to myself as black? You damn right I did. Did I embrace myself and my melanin? Absolutely I did.
Say a lie. Say a lie. I'm black and I'm proud. Yeah, but yet your skin tone don't even match your hair.
And I never had
Your hair is black, your skin's a beautiful brown, but all you worried about is, you know. But it was a harsh time, so I can't give them that. I don't give them that. I just get talking about today's generation. You know, we look at ourselves, we see that, and we all go say, I'm black. Nah, it used to irritate me. Even before I was even conscious of any of this stuff, and I'm walking down the streets here in town, and I'm talking to a brother from Philadelphia, and he's got the Native American, the indigenous Americans in his bloodline, and he don't even care about it because all he cares about is chasing white women, you know what I'm saying, or these white girls, fucking them all, because he wants more. He said to me, I want more children in this town with my last name than there are of the other last names in this town, and I couldn't get over that. I'm like, man, that's crazy, that's insane, you know. But the conversations we had, man, even we both knew at that time, not being conscious to any of this stuff, it bothered us to be called black when our skin is brown.
Well, let me take that back, because I did get teased as being dark-skinned when I was younger, but my father always told me, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. The closer to the earth I was, and I believed him. He could have been lying, but that was enough for me to carry on through life, feeling that I was always going to be the person that did not become fearful of the circumstances. So I was able to handle that word black. I was able to handle those jokes. I still felt like I was on top. It was just jokes. They couldn't really hurt me at all. I got hip to that after a while. It didn't bring me down or anything like that. And that's because I had people around me that, you know, boosted my confidence. Okay? And these are the things that we have to worry about with our generations coming up. Not only do you have to have them figure out how to think for themselves. You can't teach nobody how to think for themselves, but we have to come up with ways that foster and encourage our children to think for themselves. Stop telling those babies, go to school and listen to your teacher. The teacher lying to them about Columbus. They celebrate, they get a day off on a day where a man just slaughtered and killed their ancestors, and everybody knows the rest. It's all lies. Everybody's comfortable with those lies, and then, you know, have the nerve to tell your kid, don't lie to you. Stop it. Stop it. These are the things that we absolutely have to change. Now, the word pan, let's see. You have the word pan here. And that has absolutely nothing to do with a Pan-African movement. Absolutely nothing to do with the Pan-African movement, with Pan or Africa. And our people just hang on to these words and don't know what they mean. Now, you have the word Pan, and if you use it as a noun, which would be, because Pan-African would be a thing, right? It's a Greek god, okay? Now, when you use it as a noun...
Then that Greek god is the Greek god of homosexuality. Remember the video I did where I came across the Pam god, part man, part goat, the god of homosexuality.
Old English, Panna, earlier Pan, Mercian, source also of Old Norse, Panna, Old Frisian, Pan, Middle Dutch, Panna, Dutch, Pan, Old Low German, Panna, Old High German, Fana, German, fan. Probably an
just say
early
Santa?
borrowing. You have the word pan here. And that has absolutely nothing to do with a Pan-African movement. Absolutely nothing to do with the Pan-African movement, with Pan or Africa. And our people just hang on to these words and don't know what they mean. Now, you have the word Pan, and if you use it as a noun, which would be, because Pan-African would be a thing, right? It's a Greek god, okay? Now, when you use it as a noun, Old English, Panna, earlier Pan, Mercian, source also of Old Norse, Panna, Old Frisian, Pan, Middle Dutch, Panna, Dutch, Pan, Old Low German, Panna, Old High German, Fana, German,
Yeah, she said Santa.
Pan. Probably an early borrowing, 4th century or 5th century, from vulgar Latin patna, from Latin patina, shallow pan, dish, stew pan, from Greek patain, plate, dish. None of these things that apply to some Pan-African anything or anything surrounding Africans that's beneficial to them. So that means that we just have something that we need to cling on to. Okay, you have the other meaning of Pan, and that's the Arcadian shepherd god, with the upper body of a man and horns and the lower part like a goat.
And that's what I was talking about. The god of homosexuality for the Greeks. Or, what, no, not even the Greeks, or the Minoans and the Etruscans.
Pan is a Greek god of mischief. Okay? Pan-Africa, what? Do those words even go together? And when they do go together, it's a white man of mischief who indulges in the god of mischief. Let's put that together.
And that thing about the Pam note was always weird is in the movies now. Notice that Pam, whenever you see him in the movies like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, he's always got an affection for little white girls. You notice that? Have you noticed that?
How does that sit with you? It needs to sit somewhere because that's not what you think it is. This is the etymology. This is not because I'm saying I don't want to be African or I don't want... No, we're not. 95% of so-called blacks, and I say so-called blacks because you're not either, but we cling to that word and we can't get over it. You're not from Africa. Let's just kill two birds with that one rock. You're not from there. If you're not from there, you got to prove it. Because when an African comes over here, they go to jail. Black people, the Negro goes to prison. Everybody else gets to go. Why do we stay here in prison? You mean to tell me it's just beneficial to let the other people go back home to their country? Why you can't go back to Africa? Africa where? Because the Nigerian goes back to Nigeria. And I'm going to take a phone call right now. We have caller 312 area code.
I'm going to skip ahead to the good part, and then we'll get off here, all right?
That's the absolute truth.
The teepees came from the Siberians. The
Wow.
was blown away. Totally blown away.
Of Kwanzaa, I have no problem with. But what I didn't understand is how can we celebrate a rapist, a murderer, and someone that tortured our women? And our people are ignoring it, saying, well, come up with something because this is all we got. Is that what you think? That's all they gave you. That's all you took.
That's right.
We won't even spend a minute to get back to whatever cultures and practices that our ancestors had. We have no idea because we've embraced everything that, the oppressor has told us was ours. Well, I just think with the etymology of Africa and African, I just proved that's not theirs either.
You know, one thing I don't know if she didn't read this, but when I looked at the etymology of Africa, it also said that it came from like the Roman, the Catholics, Africa. And it was talking, and it had to do with hair, the fact that it has to do with an afro, and I just started thinking about this. You know, not to, I mean, and it's not to pick on them, but I mean, I see more people here in the Americas, especially in South America, that have afros than I do in Africa. When at least from the images, I've never been to Africa or South America, but I just thought about that was interesting that more the people in Africa have that traditional, you know, low hair. You know, it doesn't really grow. I don't know if they shave it that way, but I just noticed that there's a difference. That it seems like, you know, like for instance, you know, he's looks like someone that could grow an afro at will, you know, versus them, or it just seems like theirs is really short. I just thought that was interesting.
It's absolutely not ours. How do you think people are disconnecting or connecting with that one, Walker? Do you think they're going to come to terms with actually finding out who they are, their genealogy? Because the ones that are still saying Africa, 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 I bet $1 to a donut that they're unable to go back at least 2 or 3 generations.
Well, I would say again that it is the awakening is happening. I mean, I give examples to all those out here, my indigenous relatives. I say, okay, physiological makeup. Okay, we're the copper complexion people that they talk about. Okay, I said the Africans, people in Africa, the land of Africa, they call Africa a knot. So now that we dominate in everything physically and technologically. Okay, we're the inventors. We're the soul brothers, the soul sisters, our soul music. Our soul food is indigenous here. Okay? And they started to think. I said, now look at the Olympics. Okay, who dominated in the Olympics? As well as our relatives out of the Caribbean and our relatives in the West. Our Fiji relatives, they crushed the British in rugby. Those are relatives. There was a sister, she's on Facebook, she went to Fiji for her co-worker's wedding, and she's like, wait a minute, they look like us. We look like them. She was blown away. Totally blown away.
That's what I said. I had a sister send me a picture that showed like a woman from Fiji, from the Philippines, from the United States, and then a woman from India. All people that in today's society we classify as black, but all of them had the same nose as us here in America, except for the woman from India. Like she had like one of those straighter, you know, tunnel kind of noses. But you know, I mean, this is no shock to me because if you know me by now, I for some reason, I mean, I feel like we came from China. I feel like, you know, or that not China specifically, but like Asia and India was ours. We migrated out of there into Africa and into Europe and into the Americas.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening. The naysayers, the people who were stuck on on Africa, Africanus, which was originally called Ethiopia, which spelled with an A. Okay, and before that, Akib Alam. I mean, I tell them, okay, the oldest pyramids are here in the ancient world.
Yeah, check this out. There's a pyramid in the lake out in Nevada. It's called Pyramid Lake. Looks like a pound of dirt, but I mean, you look at those, and then you look at the ones in Egypt, and Egypt looks like it's new. Where the place they call Egypt, it looks like it's brand new compared to what's over there. Yeah, I mean, what's here in the Americas. Like when we look at pyramids, just because it's not, you know, smooth or defines, you know, drawn out line, we look at, you know, and think, oh, well, that's just a pile of dirt. But actually, you know, we haven't really realized is that that's weather erosion, right? If that was built there, it's worn down from weather and from being trampled with, to where it's gonna look like that. Versus the pyramids, who've sat there and haven't had to be beat up and messed up. They look newer. Like all that stuff, I just started, you know, you think about it. It's like the Greek statues, right? All those Greek statues But then you find these old statues from our culture in Georgia, you know what I'm saying? And those are and down in Mexico, and they're wore out. They're barely full statues, but they're there. And you look at them and you compare them to the new statues, and it's just like Egypt. Those look new compared to the ones that we can find in the Americas. And it's like, how do these scientists know they're pyramids? And they use science, geometrics and whatever not.
Here, okay, up
Yeah.
Capitol Hill, because that's a pyramid. It's covered up. Stone Mountain in Georgia, that's a pyramid. I tell people,
Some people have a hard time believing that because it doesn't look exactly like the ones in Giza. So they say, not realizing that they're the exact same dimensions.
right. Thing I will say, I've been traveling down south, and I met elders down there in their mid-50s, young elders, some in the 60s. They say, I'm not from Africa. What the hell? They think they better hold on. Get the hell out of here with that. I'm not from Africa. Whereas Atlanta is Atlantis, the throne of Atlantis. The ancient throne of Atlantis was above water. As these, teachings come out,
I read a verse the other night before my wife and I went to bed. We burn sage, and and I read from the Old Testament. Was reading Amos 1:1, and something struck out to me. Right, Amos 1:1 talks about this is the word of the Lord came to Amos 2 years before the earthquake. And I thought the earthquake, what if that was Pangea? I mean, I got nothing to prove it at all, but for some reason, the first thing that hit my mind as I'm reading it was Pangea, and I thought, wow, inspiration or just foolishness.
I know an elder. He's guided me, but then I looked at the comic book one day. I said, wait a minute, the throne of Atlantis. It was Aquaman and the Justice League. I said, wait a minute, hold on. And then it dawned on me, Atlanta. I said, that's it right, that's Atlantis, and it is. The Carolinas are Cairo. Memphis is in Tennessee, which is an ancient city. All of these ancient cities around here, the modern cities today are our ancient cities. We had our own shipping ports. I tell people that. We weren't in huts and TVs. The people.
Yeah, and that's right. That's just like that last video I uploaded. I mean, they lying when they show all those little, huts and teepees along. When they say there were cities with houses and temples, and buildings, that's what was here. All that got destroyed to cover up what was here. That's why when a farmer in Indiana's digging through or tilling the land, trying to plant the crops, and he comes across a statue of a black woman, he doesn't know what to think.
The teepees came from the Siberians, the Mongolians over in Siberia. You can look it up on Google today.
Yep, and they still living like that. Same kind of structure and everything.
You'll see that. Another thing you can look up on Google is indigenous Americans, and we come up.
That's right.
I mean, they also show those, who are, are the Mongolian Indians, but then they show the ones, that the mixed bloods where the mixing that came in with the Mongolians and us who are the indigenous Americans. Okay, there's a lot of things that have been going, divisions that are going on right now with the tribal councils and those recognized tribes, but they're bound to the United States of America Incorporated, not the Republic. We're not the American Republic. That's another thing. Common law, indigenous law is above corporate law. We have to inform our people of that, because I've actually used it, the police, they had to stand down. They said, okay,
stand down.
Right. I established jurisdiction. I said, whose jurisdiction are you under? And they said, wait a minute, jurisdiction. There was a third party involved. They said, well, let's see some ID. I said, you don't have jurisdiction to question me on that. They said, wait a minute, excuse me, sir, are you a sovereign citizen? I looked at him and I said, I'm indigenous. I am a natural person. And they backed off right away. And they told the guy, I said, hey, you're going to have to come back and we have to talk to you, okay? He said, you cannot carry him. He was trying to tow my truck. He said, you cannot carry, I was in the truck. He said, the way he is in that truck, that's basically kidnapping. You cannot, and they said, we're going to leave, okay? All right, we'll see you later. But that is what
I'll tell you,
sharpening these clowns.
That's absolute truth.
Right. That's with Sharpton and Jackson and what's that knucklehead over in Harvard, Cornell West, okay?
Cornell
and
West.
the guy the rest of them that's on that panel, along with Tavis Smiley, okay, is jurisdiction. We have sovereignty. We're sovereign natural people, and they know this, and they will not inform our people of this. Sharpton wants to say,
No.
"Oh, well, we're gonna
Black
have
this
a
and
march.
black that.
We want We want to have a march, and we want jobs. Like we can fuck that. We can create our own jobs and our own businesses. They're waiting for us to do
Our
that
people are
anyway
scared.
to create the
Our
next
people are
big
scared.
thing.
That's a fact. That is a
Well,
fact.
not all of our
And-
people are scared.
And those
Not
are the
all of our
ones that
people are.
those are the ones that are going to make the difference. Absolutely.
We are the ones.
Those are the ones that need the best energy that they can, because the most positive energy, because they're going to need it out on the battlefield. And that's exactly what this is. And that's exactly what this is. And we have to use our brain. We have to think. We have to backtrack. We got to walk backwards and get out of this cling to the master's ankles. I don't understand why we just refuse to get off the nipple. The things that we are willing to cling to are degrading, because we won't spend one moment trying to figure out where we came from. They still just the assumption that you were from somewhere else, and I bet none of their grandparents told them that. No one's grandparents said, "Oh, we're from Africa." Now, they may have said they were black, but I doubt they said that they were from Africa. You were from Africa. I doubt they said that to us.
They do.
The disconnection to the land is the reason why we are so unsuccessful. We don't know our jurisdiction. And that's the thing, is that you bring this up, and I have had the same type of encounter now. My cousin had a little registration tag, and he pulled him out the car. Now in California, there are dispensaries. So the car does smell very loud. Okay, we did have